Okay, so a lot of us are here. We're traveling here, or we live here, and the MENA region is very attractive for a lot of us. Whether we're whatever part of the world that we're coming from, we see the growth here, especially in a place like Dubai. It's absolutely fantastic what they have done here and what they're doing here, and we see it all the way, of course, to into the North African region and everything else. So we have with us here a fantastic panel of experts to help you and hopefully give some good insight into how to succeed in the MENA region. I'll let each of them introduce themselves. We'll start with Tara here. If Go ahead and give an introduction.
Can you hear me? Yeah. Thank you, Bruce. Thank you, everyone, for attending. My name is Tara. I've been the head of marketing in Saxo Bank. Been there for 6 years. I've worked out of Cyprus office, and I've been based in Dubai for the last 4 years. That's a bit about me.
Fantastic. And Serena?
Good afternoon, all. Thank you, Bruce. Very excited to be here and to see a bunch of fintech enthusiasts that came to room with us. I'm Serena. I'm the director in PwC Middle East, consultant by heart and by background, but I've been a regulator as well. I focused on what I call the future of finance, the fintech revolution. So I actually support central banks, regulators, and the private sector to establish effective and sustainable fintech ecosystem.
Hi, good evening. My name is Dominic Alfouri. I'm the head of business development at ATFX. I've been in this business for the past 13 years and living in UAE for the past 12. And we're well established here in this country, one of the best countries.
Hi everyone, this is Namir with you, Namir Khan, Chairman of the Middle East North Africa Fintech Association, working very closely with central banks and regulators across the region, and working with key fintech players as well to enable their success.
Hi, my name is Tarek. I've been in the region for 7 years, in the brokerage space for 10 years. I'm really excited to be here.
Fantastic. And one thing, with the noise that we have from outside, let's all make sure that we're speaking directly in. It sounds loud to us, but we want to make sure that everybody hears us. So we've got to be loud. So as you see, we really have a lot of years put together of expertise in the region. I would like to start with Dominique. I know you just moved here, so I think that's fairly interesting. What do you, and then I'll propose this to everybody, but what do you like most about the region, and how do you see it developing over the next 6 months to a year?
Well, for anyone that had the experience or lived here in this country for a few years, you will like the most the security here. You feel most secure, especially if you have a family or you're looking to have a family as well. That's one of the best things here. Second thing, business-wise, the taxation, of course. That it will change soon, but it's not gonna. I don't think it's gonna implement or it's gonna affect our business a lot. And plus, this is a business hub that connects literally the world. So Dubai nowadays, or even the UAE itself, is just a hub where every single company around the world would like to exist, to be able to connect east and west, and to like even. Especially with all the problems that we've been having and the geopolitical tension that we've been focusing and seeing in the Middle East as well, in the Levant countries, especially.
Fantastic. And Tara, I know you've been here for quite a while. You've done quite a few things here. Wonderful culture. I'm sure that you can share some of the things that you find that are advantageous here that you really love.
Look, I mean, there's a lot of things that are amazing about this place. First of all, it's a land of opportunities. If there is one thing that Dubai is bringing forward to the world, is that it can dream and that dreams can actually happen. So in that sense, it's really refreshing to be here and to know that there is a vision, there is security, as Dominic said, but there's also a future, and it's evolving all the time, and you're a part of it. You can be part of the change. So I really love that. I also love that it's becoming more and more inclusive and inclusive towards women. I think it's the government is doing a lot of work in that sense. And obviously everything that's fintech, technology, all of it is being pushed forward here. So in terms of career, the sky's the limit.
It is just exploding here, and the leadership coming out of the UAE government is absolutely fantastic. Just coming in, I've been traveling here for 5 years, and it is just the growth is absolutely explosive. So Serena, you're working obviously with a very high-profile corporation, and you've been here quite a while. If you share some thoughts, that would be great.
Well, this is a question that actually I'm very often asked to respond to, and every time I'm more convinced of the answer. And it's really like what I see what in the US and Europe happens in 2 years, in 10 years, in this region happenings too. So it's really the amount of opportunities, the pace of action. It's just amazing. So it's very exciting to work here. I think it's typical of a region and of governments that have unparalleled and unique ambitions, a vision, and of course an important firepower and incredible exposure and reach to the world. Then of course Dominic mentioned the taxation. I mean, there are only two things that are true always in life. We'll die and we have to pay taxes. At least living here, we only have one.
It is an extreme advantage. You see people coming from all over the world in order to participate in that. And one thing I've noticed even is that as you'll hear, okay, we're going to do this, and then like 2 months later, they did it. And so you're looking, you're like, well, we're not sure about regulations. I know in my home country, in the U.S., of course, a lot of times we're like looking around, we're not sure a lot of times what to do. We don't know how the regulations are going, and you have this straight line of getting things done, streamlined. So I feel like, Namira, you would know a lot about that with the FinTech Association, the MENA FinTech Association. How have you seen that develop here, and what do you predict for the next year?
So your question is in terms of the culture, or
we can, if you would like to talk about the culture, with your expertise as the FinTech Association, the MENA FinTech Association, I think it's fantastic.
I couldn't hear you the background noise. So basically, in terms of what we have seen in this year specifically, the important thing is great. We have an infrastructure that's in place. We have a lifestyle in place. That is all fantastic. Now, what do the numbers say? Let's take a deep dive into that. 70% of all your regional fintechs are currently based out of, let's say, this specific country where you're sitting. That's one thing. The second is the exponential growth that you have seen across the region when it comes to the growth of digital payment itself. Now, digital payments for us, and how I personally see this as well, is the heart of where typically fintech starts, right? This is where you have access to the wallet of the user, and from there you take out a very essential piece of information, the data which is regarding payments, right? And of course from there you're able to do whatever you want to do in terms of your vision that you have towards a specific fintech or a use case that you're trying to build. So the opportunity when it comes to digital payments is fantastic, one. Number two, in terms of the growth that we have seen is also in the form of regulations. Now, you want to come in and set up your company, that's brilliant. You have ease of business, that's there. The second piece that comes into play is actually the regulations that are coming in. The regulations have been extremely fast-tracked right now. And what we see in 2022, so we have always been discussing that 2018 and 19 were the years where fintech started to basically penetrate into the region. 1920 was significant boost. 2021 was the major launch pad that we had over here, where we had the setup of multiple fintechs coming in from different places all over the world and setting up the regional hubs in the region itself to then, of course, serve the larger population. And then what we see over here now in 2022 is further expansion of it. Now, when I say expansion not just in the form of setting up an organization or your fintech here in the region, but the region is getting ready in the form of regulation to tap onto your business, that you're trying to address, or a use case that you're trying to address. Let's say we talk about Saudi. Saudi is once again opening up the market significantly. You have the regulations that are opening up. You have sandboxes that are coming in left, right, center to enable tech companies to set themselves in the region, then of course have a strong use case as well. And so 2022 is going to be a milestone year as well, also in the form of the amount of funding that's going to come in the region. Another thing that we see over here is the VC, the deal flow that's basically coming into the region is spectacular, right? At this point of time, the region is widely covering Egypt, Saudi, in Pakistan as well. You have these three key markets that a significant amount of VC flow is going into these, into these key markets itself. So that is another precedent that is being set in terms of why the market is ripe for this, and more VCs and more funding is further being deployed in this part of the world. This is just the beginning of what I'm basically talking about. There's a lot more that I can continue.
Well, that is for sure, and it's inspiring. When you talk about the amount of different companies, corporations coming here, setting up base of operations, and it's not always just the coders that are coming in or the guys doing the work behind the scenes, but it's the corporations that are coming here, and I feel like they need that representation here in the region. So it's absolutely fantastic. So I know with Capitalcom, Tariq, you've been working in the region for quite a while. What do you find that inspires you about the region, about the people? What do you love about it the most?
Yeah, I mean, I came 7 years ago, where everything looked very different to how it looks now. I started in downtown, and just downtown has 15 more towers in the time that I've been here. And the last 2 years, obviously, at the beginning of the lockdown, have been challenging, and potentially a lot of people left. But within the last year, we see so many new people coming in. And that's really exciting to be in a place where Dubai keeps reinventing itself and keeps attracting new talent to the region to grow and diversify.
Yeah, fantastic. So I think one of the things, obviously, for all of us is we always want to know the things, obviously, that we should do in the region, also the things that we don't want to do in the region. So a question for Serena, is there anything that is an absolute no-no and that could break a deal? Could you give us some insight into some of those types of things?
I wouldn't say really breaking a deal is more like let's say common mistake that can cause losing a deal. I'll maybe mention three that I think are more relevant for fintech. Number one is most likely not understanding how Islamic products, Sharia compliant products are important. 85% of the population in the MENA region is Muslim, and even if, of course, they also use standard products, standard financial products, they have a preference for Islamic products. We actually did a survey recently with PwC, and we found out that 65% of Muslims actually would prefer using Sharia compliant products, given that the level of service provider is aligned, is the same. So I think, at least understanding it, it's true that we have a number of offshore jurisdictions that are common law based and so allow for other type of products, but at least understanding this region is really like part, understanding this type of financial products is really part of understanding the region itself, so it's important. Number two, I would say maybe not choosing the the appropriate licensing area. UAE alone has 45 offshore jurisdictions, and I mean inshore, offshore. Plus, we have, the same situation in Qatar with you, the same in Bahrain. I mean, Saudi Arabia is developing, and we'll wait and see to see what happens with NEOM as well. So, I mean, there are a bunch of opportunities. So it's really important to cherry pick what is relevant for your company. So be forward-looking, look at the long-term objectives. What are the foundations? Who are your customers? What are the government tenders that you look for? So it's really like to establish what the regulation that best fits your business. So that's important to pick the right one. And last but maybe most importantly is something we were discussing just before starting the panel with the other panelists: relationships. I mean, it's key. It's key in the Middle East to establish personal relationship to make your business successful, to get to know the human behind the title and behind the job. So it's relationship based. Most of the business out here is based on recommendations, on referrals, really. So it is important. It's important meeting in person. It's important establishing a relationship. I would say really every business is personal. I'm Italian, so it's very a Mediterranean culture now, and it's even more valid here.
Sure. Well, it's so important, really, all over the world. But I tell people all the time, you know, like, listen, if you want to do business over there, of course, go to the region, go and meet the people, go and meet the leaders that you need to set up business with, that you need to incorporate with. Have that personal relationship, because of course it makes such a difference. I know you were nodding. Would you like to add?
I mean, I am nodding, of course, because I mean, if you don't have relationships here, you can do absolutely nothing, actually. I mean, everything is made to be easy, online. You can register, you can apply for licenses, you can do all that online, right? It's all facilitated. But at the end of the day, if you don't know the people behind it, and if you don't have insights to what's actually needed, then you will end up either not succeeding or choosing the wrong license, as she said, and then you're going to have to spend some more to get the correct license. So these are really mistakes that we do find a lot in this region. Yeah.
I know there are a lot of licenses. I consult a lot of the early stage technology startups, and it changes too. It's like, okay, well, you want to get the license here.
You have to stay up to date.
Yeah, a couple months later, you're like, well, maybe actually we should do this one. So, Namir, I know I'd like to go back to you on this. I feel like you have a lot of experience. If you could give some pointers on what you think is the most important things that a company should look for to establish good partnerships and to establish a footprint here in the region.
So, I mean, it's great that you mentioned the first thing is that if you're setting up in your jurisdiction, do you really need to be in a financial center, or you don't need to be in a financial center? That's the first thing. Second thing is going to be, what sort of regulation are you going to fall under? Are you going to be regulated, or are you not going to be regulated?
Get closer to the microphone.
Oh, great. Better? Great. So, so you need to basically then see that which sort of regulation are you falling under, and whether you are or whether you're not. A lot of times, fintechs assume that they would fall under the regulation, or sometimes they would assume they don't fall under the regulations, and that basically, extends their time for go-to-market. That delays it a lot, because then you have to do a lot of homework. So do your homework before you even register, which is first understand, do you need mainland, do you need offshore? Understand the differences if you're operating in UAE, the first thing, okay? Do you need to be offshore, do you need to be mainland? What does an offshore license offer? What does a mainland license offer? First thing, please do your homework on that, critical, right? Second, is there a market need for this? You don't want to come and set up your company, and then after that, you're spending 6 months, 7 months just to get some validation from your potential customers and clients, whether you will be taken on board or not, or whether you will have some business. Okay, so you need to actually, and I would recommend that do your business follow-ups and business pipeline before or while you're setting up your company, and as long as it's strong and that makes sense for you. Then, after that, the most important thing is that you can have the best product, right? You have the best product. What matters is distribution. Do you have the best distribution strategy or not? Because if you have a great product and you're not able to distribute that product to consumers, then you are actually heading towards a wall. So make sure you know your distribution, your channels, you have that set. Now, post that, while you're basically setting up the distribution channels, that requires connectivity into the market network, right? Over here, networking matters, and I'm serious about it, it really does. You need to know the right people in the right places, and you need to have an eye to understand who's the right person, who's not the right person, right? Your time is valuable, your time is money, so you need to value that as well. Meeting people is great, but meeting the right people is essential and extremely important.
Yeah, very, very wise words. There are a lot of people. There's a lot of money in the area, so of course you have many people coming in. Go ahead.
I just wanted to add as well, being the marketeer in the room, that once you have decided on your license, once you have decided on your connections, you figured out some things, then you have to look at the region as a whole and understand where you want to start. Because we all call it MENA region, Middle East, but it's a massive region and you can't spread yourself too thin. So you need to figure out what's your focus market and then go straight in there and really put all your eggs in that basket, at least for a while, until you're established, until you have the brand awareness, until you have the brand recognition. And then once you've grown, you can take the step to the next market and the next market. So I would say focusing is very important in terms of marketing, and then localization. So that's another very big piece of the puzzle. Because, I mean, having worked from abroad, even as a marketeer, I used to cover the Middle East region from Cyprus, right? My understanding of the local intricacies was zero. I mean, I did make it and I was successful in terms of digital marketing, but until I came here, I didn't really fully understand what it meant and what was needed for the market. So yes, obviously there are some red flags. Don't put nudity in your pictures, but that's not it, right? There's so much more depth to what actually you should be doing and how you should be localizing, the tone of voice you should be using, the colors on the pictures. I mean, if you talk about localizing, it's a really very deep topic, right? And it's very important because you could be saying one word that resonates wrong with your local audience, or you can have the best, I don't know, British marketeer that's going to use very fancy wording, and then people won't get it. So you really need to come and be here and understand what is needed to actually make your brand heard and actually valid in the local market. So that's very important in terms of succeeding here. Localization, localization, localization.
If I may just add something, Tara. I totally agree with what you said. And there's something for all the entrepreneurs that would like to start a new business as well here. There's always a must that you need to do a proper feasibility study, proper market study on what do we have here, what are you looking for in particular to be able to get to your target. Now the problem that we've been having or that we're facing nowadays, especially as brokers and the things that we've been seeing in the market, now we have like 1,000 brokers out there, right? But we have a lot of small shops. So I'm sure that those CEOs or the owners or the shareholders, they have a target. Everyone would like to make money, but this is not the right way to do it. We can always start with a cheaper start. We can start step by step. I'm quite sure that maybe 50 or less than 50% of the new brokers that got established here, they did not do a proper market study to understand if we have enough clientele in the market to be able to acquire. you're right. You mentioned MENA is huge. Yes, it is huge. But eventually, you need to know how to target it and the proper ways.
But Dominic,
So,
in terms of market studies, we also know that there isn't so much transparency, right? If you want to actually do a proper survey and see how competitors, the market share, etc., all of that is very difficult to find here.
agree.
So where do you get your data
But
from?
but you can build your data from the experienced people that have been living here. This is why it always go back to the same topic as we started, which is basically the connections. This is how you get your proper study, because with proper connections you're gonna get to the real numbers and the right numbers. That's one of the issues that I believe that we have at the moment in this region. Everyone with a couple of millions, they will go and start a new business without having a clue what the clientele want there, like what's the need there.
Well, it's definitely all true, and I'll tell you what, the government leaders here I have found to be very open to talking, to even meeting, or just that straight line there. So I'd like to take it over to Tariq. Tariq, we've seen a crazy year. We've seen Bitcoin go up to $69,000, down again to below 30. I think oil right now is pretty high priced. What are you seeing as investments in the region? How are you seeing that develop?
Yeah, we have certainly seen a lot of interest in cryptocurrencies and trading cryptocurrencies over the last 2 years. And then in Q4, commodity trading has really picked up. Once we had supply issues, natural gas went through the roof. Obviously, with the current political situation, oil is trading very volatile, same as gold. So I think the region, cryptocurrencies and commodities, is where everyone's attention is at the moment.
Fantastic. And I could pose this question really to anybody. I think a lot of us, as we come in here and we're looking at different structures or places to license, if you have a license in a free zone, can you operate on the mainland? If you have it on the mainland, what are you missing from the free zone? Sometimes that's not very clear to everybody. So I would kind of throw that out if someone would like to take it.
Happy to start, and then maybe that's a very challenging topic. That's why I brought this up as a main key, not even to success, but to start a business here. There are certain, I mean, if you are registered for certain things, if you're registered in mainland, then you can operate elsewhere. Or if you are registered offshore, you can operate. But it's not always the case. Also, the regulation is actually quite different. So there is a legislative framework that is basically established in mainland, and then the offshore jurisdictions have a proper regulatory framework. So they license then the company themselves with different type of licenses that differ from an offshore jurisdictions to another. So it's actually a quite complex puzzle to put together. That's, I mean, for and even the type of corporation that you establish, like a limited liability company, or I mean, with each type of company that you establish, there are only certain things that you can do. So it's very important that you understand what your customers are, what you're offering. Are you advising? Are you selling products? Are you selling services? So that you understand what the license is and the right jurisdiction is. Also in terms of pricing, because pricing is very, very different from we see the IFC and the ADGM, and then compared like maybe to Fujairah, that's another word. Even Bahrain, for example. I mean, we go from 45,000 and 30,000 dirhams per year as registration fees to even 8,000 or less. So it really matters for small businesses and for new ventures.
Would you like to expand on that, Tamir?
Yeah, so in terms of like, Serena just addressed it correctly. In terms of the free zones and the offshore and the mainland, it's the same thing that I discussed previously, just a while back. You don't have to register in a financial center. Number one, that's the key thing. If you think that you don't have to be regulated, then fine, that makes sense. If you need to be regulated, and if you're doing mainly cross-border transactions and nothing within the country itself, or you're not marketing to the consumers or the customers within the jurisdictions of the country outside that free zone, then you don't have to then go for mainland license. So that's the first thing that needs to be sorted out, and that's why I say do your homework. It's critical. The second is going to be you may want to then be close to the ecosystem of what these financial centers offer, such as the IFC and ADGM, because they both offer a certain ecosystem. Whatever ecosystem offers you a better alignment towards your vision and towards your fintech's mission, go for that. Again, not necessarily. That's why we have innovation testing license that is being offered by DIFC that lets you potentially test your product and your solution even if you are a regulated entity, right? So that's an innovation testing license. Then after that, you have a technology license, technology company license that is being issued if you're non-regulated entity. That's one. Same goes for ADGM. Now, let's talk about other free zones that are offering. So these other free zones are not financial center free zones. They are free zones that may have different propositions and offers. So if you are a technology company only and you're not touching the regulations, again, you've got to be clear. If you're not touching the regulations, you can set up in those different free zones that have been set up too. Now, if you end up touching the regulations, regardless of wherever you are set up, if you touch the regulations, if you are doing any regulated financial activity, then either you need to take a no objection certificate from the Central Bank of UAE, either from ESCA Security and Commodity, right? Then you need to also at the same time take approvals maybe from the Insurance Authority, which again goes to the Central Bank of UAE now. So you need to take a certain level of NOC if you are touching mainland regulations, right? So this is typically how, on a top level, this is how it was, and I'm happy to help you out with that as well.
Fantastic. And I want to bring it back to Tariq. I know with Capitalcom, you guys are, there's a lot of different investments in the region. And I just wanted, of course, we have a list of kind of questions that we went over. This is not on it, but how do you see the difference between the MENA region and, let's say, the Americas?
This region is full of different cultures and lots of different people that come here and try their luck, and that's really exciting. It's comparable to if you go to London or if you go to New York, where you have a lot of exposure to many different individuals. And as Namir said, especially the fintech scene over the last couple of years has really taken off, and we're seeing more and more international players come here and set up shop and see the opportunity. And that's really interesting to us as well, and part of the reason why we're increasing our footprint here is to serve this region on a local basis, because without that you won't succeed here. The market is very different from other regions of the world. There are a lot of risk takers here. There are a lot of people that are really pushing to progress, and what an exciting place to be part of.
For sure. Just one thing I would like to add to what you said, right? So if you do a comparison between the financial centers of Singapore or what you see in the US or in London or different hubs all over the world. So they have been established, right? And in this part of the region, in this part of the world, it's a fresh place. So it's an opportunity for you all to also leave your mark. Because when you have concrete which is fresh, right? You step on it, because it's a fresh infrastructure, the region is growing, significant exposure. It is an opportunity for anyone and everyone to make a mark if they want to, and leave a mark if they want to. Because right now, because we're going through that growth stage that other hubs already went through, right?
So it's been developing as well, and even from the regulation perspective, if you look at the ESCA, for example, so it's not just ADGM, the IFC, or any other regulation. Now we have like updated regulations, like you were mentioning before. Regulations are getting updated constantly, and we have new regulations coming in. Now we have IB licenses, crypto licenses, everything you can just apply on it online by single click, and just upload your documents, and it's very easy. But we go back to the same idea. Make sure that you study the market. Even with the question that you asked, Tariq, at the beginning, when you were talking about the crypto commodity and the boom that's been happening since Q4. Nowadays, the problem with our investors that they're not doing the proper research before getting into any market. They do not understand the risk behind cryptocurrencies. There's a lot of profitability that you can get from cryptos, and it's beautiful. I'm not telling you it's not a good investment. It's a beautiful investment, but at the same time, understand the exposure that you're going to open in your account, understand the risk involved over there, and then you can go and do that as investors and as a company that would like to offer this as a product. It's the responsibility of the company to give the awareness and to provide all those services to their clients. Because if you do not give that information to your clients, eventually you're going to lose those clients, and you're going to have that short-term relation, which is something that I don't think any company that should be looking for. Most of the relations should be long-term and medium to long-term. This is how we should onboard clients, at least.
Fantastic. So we have about 3 minutes left. I am going to open up 4 questions at the end of 3 minutes, just for like 5 minutes extra. Serena, I wanted to go to you. Is there a specific country that stands out in the region to set up your business in this industry? Please explain the answer.
She has to say UAE.
What?
She has to say UAE, obviously.
I know. I was thinking that.
Well, actually, I wouldn't say UAE. I mean, that's it's a difficult question. Now, it's not. There is not one specific country. I think. Again, the region is huge. I think it's more a matter of an ecosystem now. So for this type of business, for fintech, for new technology, financial services, you need the ecosystem to be established. And the ecosystem is really access to capital, it's talents, availability of talents, it's quality of infrastructure, it's of course regulations, regulatory framework. And I think in the region, most of the countries, and of course, especially maybe UAE, Bahrain, and Saudi Arabia, have really strong governments that are willing to invest to create an established, a successful, a vibrant ecosystem that has all these components. So it really depends on the business that you're establishing and what the market you want to penetrate first. But there are opportunities in all of them. Then, of course, it's not only it's not only this. I mean, there is also a matter of use that you get. I mean, availability of customers. So population matters, and I mean it's maybe Saudi Arabia, UAE. It's taxation that matters, and I mean in general, easy of doing business. And I always repeat the same three countries, but actually there is the 2020 report of World Bank that rank on easy of doing business, and they rank UAE, Bahrain, and Saudi Arabia at first. So, I mean, it's a matter of a number of elements that play together, but I think at least these three countries in the region are absolutely leading the change, are creating possibilities for new ventures for fintech to establish. And by the way, Oman, Kuwait, I don't want to forget them. Oman, Kuwait, and Qatar are following. I mean, they just released their national agendas a bit later, but they all have a 2030 or 2035 agenda that has a specific focus on developing the financial sector and a specific focus on supporting fintech and the fintech ecosystem.
Yeah, we are seeing that a lot. I know even with the companies that I'm working with, Saudi Arabia keeps coming up. Of course, Bahrain it keeps coming up, and these other ones as well. I know there's even conferences. We have the Ritusa Family Office representative here. We're doing a conference there in Riyadh. I know Prasanga and a few of the other ones are coming as well. So I want to open this up to for questions. If anybody has some questions for our panelists, please raise your hand.
Can we, before the question, can we
Yes.
deny that UAE is mixing all the regulations? Like you're getting literally the top of everything, plus the luxury and the lifestyle. That's something that you literally cannot find anywhere. Like the hotels here, everything, the quality that you get here is something that you cannot get anywhere in the world, even in the rest of GCC. They're going like up to the standards. Of course, there's a lot of competition here, and that's good. It's healthy competition. It's beautiful. So, but we are living in that country where it's the dream, as Stara said at the beginning. This is where you achieve your dreams. This is where you will see the dreams getting achieved as well.
Just also saying on Serena's point, she said where to start first. That keyword is very important. So if you want to start somewhere where it's a bit more mature, UAE is probably the market. But then there's a lot of opportunities. Obviously, Saudi is huge. I mean, in terms of populations as well, right? It doesn't compare.
Depends on the business, of course. Depends on the business that you'd like to establish.
There's a lot of opportunities in Saudi for all businesses.
Yeah, I think adoption. I mean, if you're driven by adoption, then of course it's Saudi. I mean, population. But I agree with you. However, I really think that all the efforts. I mean, the effort that Saudi Arabia is doing now, in line with their national agenda, with the Saudi Vision 2030, with the financial sector development plan, is really remarkable. And I mean, we have seen open banking regulation. I mean, the open banking policy last year, and the regulation that is coming soon. They're working on really a number of interesting things. I think it's going to be the next gold.
Maybe they can do it even better. You never know. Like they already have an example in front of them, and it's been a successful example. So now that's the healthy competition that I'm talking about. So eventually, the next thing that you're gonna do, you're gonna try your best to make it better. So that's how it should be.
I think, I mean, an interesting and exciting thing here is that everything is built from scratch, right? So you can actually build the best-in-class ecosystem, jurisdiction, regulation that you have globally at that time, because you build it from scratch. You don't have a legacy system to modify, to rely on as in Europe.
Fantastic. Well, I want to thank everybody. It was an absolutely amazing panel, a lot of insight, and please give everybody a round of applause.
Thank you.
we will have a break for about 40 minutes and we'll return again. Stay tuned.
Hi, how are you?